Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala khatamil anbiya. This is our 6th unit. We have covered some basic concepts of Islamic ethics, and we have also looked into how modern psychology and modern thought looks on the process of decision making or judging what is right and wrong or what should be done at a given moment. This Unit 6 deals with family ethics, because in Islam, ethics is not confined to one single area. It covers all aspects of life: individual, social, political, familial, as well as international. So Islam creates a culture and thought which is guided in all activity by deen or Islamic way of life. Individual life, family, society and economy are synergized. They are not separate realms. They don't work parallel, but they were integrated together. They are not divided in different realms. Whatever is ethics for personal life is ethics for family, and same applies for society and economy. They are organically related, which means that they are not by themselves independent, but they are linked, like you find in a plant, in a tree. You cannot stop feeding one branch and feed the other. They are linked together organically. If you have a termite, it goes all over the plant, not just one area. So its link is organic. Islam disallows celibacy as a manifestation of piety. In most of cultures of the world, celibacy has been regarded as a sign of piety. So if a monk lives in a cubicle or on top of a pillar for 7 years, people think he has increased spirituality. And same in our own society, if someone has left social life and living in a forest or living in a hut on a mountain by himself, then people think this person has become more close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and start calling him a wali, a peer, a muttaqi person. So Islam disallows celibacy as a manifestation of piety and taqwa or spirituality. It is a societal faith, a holistic worldview, a total way of life. Therefore, family is part of it. We know well that the Quran talks about human creation by itself, which means that human beings are not a byproduct of a blind process of biological evolution, but human beings are born with a purpose, and that purpose is given by the Quran itself, that Allah has made human beings, both men and women, as His vicegerent, His Khalifa on land. And that means a person who is given to decide whether he wants to go left or right, north or south. Without this liberty and freedom, you cannot have any Khalifa. Khalifa is not a robot. Khalifa is a person who has to make decision about what should be done at a given time. Pre-Islamic concepts of falah were very much based on certain assumptions. Among those, first was that individual purification can be done with ibadat, and purpose of ibadah is just to purify an individual. Therefore, even today we hear that if someone is praying or fasting, it's for one's own self. The fact of the matter is, when we come to the concept of ibadat in our other series of discussions, then you will find that ibadah in Islam is not something personal, but every aspect of ibadah is societal. So, pre-Islamic concepts included individual purification by way of worship, and then success by way of spiritualism, that you will succeed if you increase your spiritual content and disregard material life. So if you stop eating, stop drinking, stop sleeping, torturing yourself, reducing your physical needs, and concentrating more and more on whomever may be your God, then it was considered as the height of spirituality. Or meditation, which means that you meditate. You quite often find that in Hinduism, Buddhism, Christianity, many world religions, if you close your eyes, sit in a corner, or have a seclusion where you have no other idea but concentrating on certain things, then it is regarded as something spiritual and basis of success. Similarly, there was a concept of success through intercession. Intercession means when you have some intermediary, when you think that your promotion is a matter of your deen, how you are good with him, you please him, make friendship with him, and he will promote you. While the fact is, unless you meet X requirement of publications, of duration of time, feedback from students, your own personal contribution to society, and so on and so forth, you do not deserve any promotion. But since we believe that there is intercession, X will support, X will recommend, X will help. This was the concept in pre-Islamic world, that intercession by priest, by the king, by some persons will work, and you can have success, which in our terminology is known as shafa'at. So we say that so and so will do shafa'at for us, as if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has no knowledge. He is in dark. Only the person who is recommending knows how good I am. While the Quran claims that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows everything, even those ideas which are still not cooked fully but in my mind, and I have not made those public, but He knows exactly. Yet we are made to believe that if you please certain spiritualists, then they are going to recommend you, become your shafi, support you, and you will succeed. So concept of success and falah was occupied with all these ideas. Islam offered a revolutionary approach for falah, that is success through observation of huquq of Allah and huquq of His servants. If one observes these two areas, what are rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and what are rights of His servants, then you can expect to succeed. Therefore, it rejects totally celibacy, asceticism, and divide between spiritual and material. It considers those things which people call worldly and material as matter of faith. We'll find later on a hadith which says that you complete your iman by marriage, which is apparently a biological, a physical union. But the Quran and hadith regards it as completion of faith, which means your faith is not in rejecting pleasure and enjoyment, but your faith is in observing what your Creator wants you to do. If He wants you to live a family life, then this is the best way of spirituality. Now, to begin with, concept of family and concept of how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has visualized and created mankind is present in these few references. The first one is very important, and that tells us, and of everything we have created pairs. Perhaps you will take heed, you will understand, contemplate. And that means that the so-called concept of unisex, the so-called concept of I can define for myself whether I want to be a male or a female in my behavior, is totally artificial and against nature. And whatever is against nature, Islam condemns that. Recently there was a resolution proposed in an agency of United Nations that in a country, I don't remember the name, a sports person who was transgender demanded that this should be counted as female and not as male because of his psychological and emotional situation. And that led to a global commotion. I received a petition for signing in favor or against. And the idea was that if this person claims that he is a female, then you have one female deprived from competition, because there may be possibility of the ex who was not allowed to become world champion. So a global movement took place and people sent out emails globally that this is a way injustice done to women because a person who is not woman claiming to be. Anyhow, so here you find the Quran tells us Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has purposely created men and women, not only men and women, but in the whole universe there is a concept. I just put these two words at the end as a just a point of reference. In Chinese philosophy is a concept of yin yang, that is, universe has two dimensions, one is male and one is female, and that yin and yang is symbolically represented by a circle where you have two halves in the form of S. When you make an S and you shade one portion and leave the other unshaded, and leave in the shaded one a hole which is not shaded and shaded in the other one. So these two, when you collapse them together, they cover each other exactly in same way. This is known as Tai Chi. So in Chinese philosophy, they have a concept that everything in universe is either having a male or a female character. So it's not just Islam, but there are other areas where you find such concepts surviving. So this other reference says, originator of the heavens and the earth, he has appointed for you pairs of your kind and pairs also of your cattle, thus does he multiply you. Not only human being, animal world does not mean only cattle and not elephants and birds and others. The Quran reinforces the concept we talked about a while ago, and that is, the ayah says, we have not sent even prophets who lived a married life and who had children. Anyone, whether Islam or anywhere else, always assumes that their hero, their prophet is ideal, and they want to be like the person, but at the same time they have an innate feeling that they cannot be like their hero, which is a dilemma of human mind. But here the Quran is telling us that these prophets of Allah were not different human beings. They were like you. And one thing was that they lived a family life, which did not make them less spiritual, less pious and worldly. Therefore, if you live a family life, then don't think that you are doing something worldly, inferior, and the one who is half naked and his body is full of dust and his forehead is full of colors and his hair are uncombed and sitting on the corner of a road, who you call malang and whom you think that has great spirituality. What's the relation between the two? The Quran gives us a different image of spirituality, not that of a malang, not that of person who is apparently violating all ethical norms. This person has no concept of cleanliness, no hygiene, but we think if we go near him and just touch him, we will get blessing. And it's not the so-called villagers, uneducated. It is those who are born in posh families, educated in only English medium schools, married to high government officials. They go to those persons and places to get blessing, and still they think they are rational human beings. Anyhow, so the ayah tells us that family is the building block of society. If you do not accept that, then you don't want to have civilizational process. If family is broken, you have no civilization, because family conveys values, family provides support, family provides shock absorbing phenomena, and all these things ultimately, if are gone, then there is no possibility of continuation of a civilization. Therefore, the Quran tells us that the objective of nikah is sustainability of civilization. The ayah is recited invariably, without any failure, in every single ceremony of nikah performed from North Pole to South Pole in Muslim community. I am not aware of any single marriage that has taken place in 15 centuries without this ayah being pronounced at the time of nikah. But neither the nikah khwa, the person performing nikah, nor those sitting there, nor even the bride and bridegroom ever understand its meaning. It's done as a magical word pronounced and magic is over. The ayah says very clearly that it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's great blessing that He has made you from one single soul. So you don't have female chauvinism or male chauvinism. Min nafsin wahida. If you are from one soul, then can you claim that since I am male I am superior and you are female you are inferior, or the contrary? We are living in a world where things have turned over, and now the so-called women empowerment means that unless a female acts like a macho man, she is not a female. So she must make her voice hoarse, heavy, which they call sexual voice. She must develop muscles. She must bang on every issue on the floor and say, this is my right. Who are you? To hell with you. What's the difference between male chauvinism and female chauvinism? This is what men were blamed for for centuries. They are possessive, they shout, they act rudely. If you act rudely, if you are so assertive, then what's the difference? Except blinding of intellect, except following the Western media and norms without use of any logic and reason. Therefore, the ayah begins by telling us, when say min nafsin wahida. But before that, a word is used that, O mankind, have taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Which means whatever is being said about nikah and union is taqwa, is not against taqwa. It's Allah consciousness, fear of Allah. It's avoidance of unethical sex. Sex is not something haram or dirty or filthy, but so long it is within the framework of ethics and morality. Therefore, the word taqwa is used, that you should remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has made this blessing for you, that we made from one single soul his mate. So no differentiation biologically or rationally or ethically. But then it also tells us that this is not just to individuals, but from them we spread a large number of people. And from them we are going to increase population, which means the objective is not to control population, freeze population, but to increase population. Marriage is not to be controlled. We talk a lot about so-called human rights and liberty and freedom. But with all rationality, we go and say kindly, control my bedroom and tell me how many kids I should have. Is that freedom, human rights, liberty? It's encroachment not only in public space, but even my very private space. Yet, no one who is educated in the West or the East, born in Muslim family or non-Muslim family, ever realizes that the ayah is telling us you cannot contain human rights given to a family in terms of procreation. It's their choice, it's their freedom. You have no liberty at all, as I state, to intervene in bedroom of a family. So the ayah is very simple, but if you only think over it, it opens up so many aspects of life. Then a paradigm shift, it's not just a matter of biological pleasure, it's a matter of ethical and aesthetic living, where you find that this relationship provides you with sukoon, with not only contentment and peace, but also with mercy, mawadda wa rahma. These two words are used very specifically in this ayah to make us understand it's not getting a person who will make for you delicious Chinese soup and very good gulab jamun. No. You are not bidding for a cook, but it's a relationship of mutuality, respect, love, compassion, support. Unfortunately, neither your so-called Islamiyat nor your so-called sociology books ever talk about what are obligations of husband and wife. All you know is family means husband, wife and 2 or less than 2 children. This is the definition of family. Nothing beyond that. The Quran provides ethical approach. It's ethics. It's not just a matter of legality. Ethics in marriage. And that ethics is given by these 2 words, mawadda wa rahma. Wud is an intensive love and compassion. And rahma is intensive blessing, attribute to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, my rahma extends the confines of skies and land and whole universe. So the Quran tells us nikah is not just a ritual, not just a ceremony, not just imitating an elaborate Indian marriage where for 7 days you are doing all kinds of celebrations and then the mantra is pronounced of nikah. No, it's not like that. It's something very much different. It's a source of love and compassion, and that's why if we take it in that sense, then kids you produce become a combination of love and rahmah. If you don't understand the Quran, they become a burden, a problem. How to tackle them? Why we had them? Why we didn't just think without them? They're all the time claiming things, destroying things, shouting, going around, saying we want this, you want that. Why we got this problem for ourselves? All those issues change with mindset. A wife, a working lady, if she feels insulted when she offers a cup of tea to her husband while she is on job, she offers that cup as air hostess to everyone with a smile. But when same cup is offered to a husband, it is against human rights. You see the mindset. There your mindset is, as a working lady, if I don't smile and give the teacup very humbly to the person, then he will just put in the observations, hostess so and so did not offer me tea and she will lose her job. Therefore, that smile and that politeness is not ethical but commercial. Islam wants that natural, not commercial. Whether you are in your home or at your job, you have to make sure that this mawadda and rahmah is reflected in your behavior, and that's why in our experience we find that female teachers are more remembered and successful than many male teachers. Particularly in early education, statistics show us that those children who are taught by female teachers get more manners as compared to those who are taught by male teachers. But that can be easily changed, and we can have both men and women equally mannered if we only emphasize on Islamic ethical behavior, which we never do. So here you find the ayah telling us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made this, and again you see in every such statement it ends up with a statement. This is for those who think, for those who understand, for those who contemplate. So that means every single statement, whether dealing with social life, economic life, war, anything, calls for contemplation, analysis, understanding, which we never do. We never try to spend 2 minutes on one Quranic ayah to understand. Rather, we want to go as fast as possible without looking into its meaning at all. So, then nikah is a social obligation. Again, if you in your class ask your girl students, would you prefer to marry someone of your own choice, or you will be happy with someone your parents select? And you will find that there is a trend that I decide for myself, because our whole education is I-centered, borrowed from the West. Me. Everything is me. It's what I want. The ayah says, "Wankihul ayama." It's a command that those of you who are bachelors, you marry them, not that they marry themselves. Which means it's a social obligation on the part of parents, family, friends, society, and state. If parents are negligent, they have no concern, then family members have obligation to pressurize and make sure that those who are single are married. If they are not, then family friends have an obligation. If they are not, state has obligation, because it addressed to state. And that means if someone, because of lack of funds, is mature and adult and wants to get married, it's human right in Islamic state of that person and nowhere else in the world to go and knock at the door of a state and say, I want to live a good life and I want to get married, I need that much support. And state must provide that. Unfortunately, Islamic State has been projected in its Hollywood version that Islamic State means a mullah with a turban, with a whip, with a dagger, with burning eyes, looking around everyone, whom should I kill first? And that is totally out of context. Islamic State means these human rights which don't exist anywhere in the world. There are systems of social security. If you are old, if you have been working, if you are disabled, you get it. But nowhere you have a legislation which says that a young boy or a girl who want to get married go to state and say, sir, give us money, we want to get married. It's our right. Here the Quran has made it very clear, it's social obligation, and further it is said, very interesting, further it says that don't think that if this young kid has no job or has just finished civil service exam and has been appointed somewhere as a civil servant in the lowest cadre and draws hardly 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 rupees. And therefore you think that how can this person survive in this amount himself and also take care of his wife? So the ayah says, we are going to make them ghani. Don't wait till your daughter is a 22 grade government officer, then look around how I can find someone in grade 25 to get her married. On the contrary, that unless my son becomes a deputy commissioner, I should wait and find out then who is good for him. The ayah is very, you see, one single ayah of the Quran, if you properly understand, provides you a ocean of meaning. And every single word is linked together. It's the beauty of the Quran that in one single sentence, in one single statement, you find everything so much linked rationally. When it says marry them, how will they live? So answer comes, we will make them survive, not you. We will make them ghani, sufficient for them. Why are you worried about it? Same when the ayah says, do not kill your children with the fear resources. Followed by the statement, we feed you and we will feed them. That means if you want to cut down on population, that we cannot support them, Beacon House is increasing tuition every 6 months, and so is happening, and uniform is costing so much, and books are costing so much, so I cannot afford more than one child. So the ayah says, do not kill them. We feed you and feed them. Are you sure you can feed yourself? Even without kids. If there are no kids and just you and your wife, do you have a guarantee that you can survive by yourselves? Or it's Allah who provides you to survive? If He make you survive, then He cannot make survive a few kids. Logic, reason, not emotions, not tradition, not society, but divine guidance. Remember, we said in the beginning that everything is subject to that diagram I made. It's divine guidance, universal norms, does not change with the change of society, but change society because of that. With us, society tells us how many kids, what kind of home, what kind of car, what kind of job. Everything is based on what we hear from people. What will they say? He is a professor and comes in FX. This is not good. So he must have Mercedes Benz. For that he must cheat. A vicious circle. So every single ayah of the Quran, like this one, has enormous meaning and relevance for our life. And all that is essentially ethics. It is ethics, it is not law. It's ethical obligation on the parents, on family, on society, on state. Then the Quran tells us that nikah is not a matter of just saying yes and tomorrow saying to hell with you 3 times and liberating yourself. But it's a misaqan ghaliza. It's a firm, strong covenant. This firm covenant became so strong in Catholicism that they said there cannot be any divorce because it is a divine blessing by way of marriage, and we can undo a divine act. Consequently, they ended up in all those issues which cause social evils in society. Although the Quran says misaqan ghaliza, very strong covenant, but it does not say there is no possibility of changing it. How, we will see later. Then it says it should be done publicly, not privately. Again you will find in most of Punjab and even KPK or any province, parents will have nikah in their home by inviting 5-10 close relatives. Then in Pearl Continental, in Marriott, in a big wedding hall with all kind of show of their richness, they will have a ceremony. Islamic approach is different, should be done publicly, because they should get blessing of as many people as possible at the time of nikah. When prayer is made, dua is made, let all people pray for their success, for their piety, for their saleh children, and so on and so forth. But in our society, things are done in following of Hinduism, Sikhism, Buddhism, whatever West does. We never try to use reason or logic, or never try to go to Quran to ask. So it's a public matter, and therefore wed them with the permission of their own folk guardian, and give them their meher according to what is reasonable. Again, meher has become a matter of prestige and status. So they will declare publicly that meher is 5 million, 10 million, 20 million, and so on and so forth, but never have intention to pay that. Then disputes arise. Okay, you said so much meher and nothing is given, and give that much and do that much. The sunnah is that whatever is affordable should be agreed, and meher is not a price of wedding. Go and listen to the khutbah of nikah across the country, and you will find after Arabic statement, the poor imam or whoever is doing it says, I marry you with so and so, bi'awaz so much. It's wrong, completely wrong, against Islam. It's not bi'awaz, it's not against that amount, no. The Quran says that you give them whatever is most decent and sincere gift. The word used is gift, not price. And you find that this is the corruption has reached to the point, it's not just price, but it's exchange price. So we demand this much price, and you demand that much price, and both parties agree with all their so-called tribal traditions surviving. It's not a matter of just Punjab, up to north, everywhere. Okay, so it's done publicly. जी
जब हम सियाक महर की बात करते हैं, इसमें मतलब ये सुनने में आता है कि अगर खातून जो है वो तलब नहीं करती, तो अगर ना दे तो इसको कोई मुज़ायका नहीं है, क्या ठीक है, इसमें कोई है ऐसी बात?
देखिए, कुरान के अल्फाज ये हैं, व आतू सदक़ातिहिन्ना। आयत जो कुरान की है, शायद आगे आएगी, व आतू सदक़ातिहिन्ना, and give them with sincerity and pleasure their due. Therefore, meher is a condition. Without it, nikah is not valid legally. Meher does not have to be a gold ring. It can be a silver ring. It can be a heap of gold. No limit. So it's done easily. A person who can afford a heap of gold, let him do it. What's wrong in that? A young man who cannot afford more than an iron ring, not silver ring, iron ring, let him do it. Why not? Hadith says even iron ring, words are used in Hadith, not of gold or silver, iron ring. If you don't have that, then Hadith tells us, teach her some part of the Quran, which means not just material, but you are giving a gift by way of teaching her the Quran. That becomes her mehr, because now it belongs to her. Whatever she has read and memorized becomes her, not yours. So flexibility, easiness, affordability, all those things. But we have made nikah difficult, complex, cumbersome, troublesome for people. Every single step moving towards marriage has been an obstruction for a good society. And we never realize that. We can have 90 TV programs, dramas on how a husband beats wife or wife beats husband, but never educate them how to live in a good way. Never. Try to remember any single drama you have seen in your life in 70 years. You always have some kind of chauvinism, clash, but never how to save society, make it good, peaceful, loving, compassionate. No, we never do that, because it does not make suspense. It does not give you the dark side. It does not depress you. Our media is perhaps bribed by the pharmaceutical companies that you depress the people to the extent they use antidepressants. Perhaps, I don't know, but possible. Anyhow, so, जी जी देखिए, सिक्योरिटी दुनिया में कोई नहीं होती. मुझे ये बताइए कि हमारे यहाँ तस्वुर ये है कि बेटा होगा तो सिक्योरिटी है, बेटी सिक्योरिटी नहीं है. तो क्या हर बेटा सिक्योरिटी फराहम करता है माँ बाप को? जब से इंसान पैदा हुआ है और क़यामत तक करेगा. सिक्योरिटी क्या हुई आपकी? सिक्योरिटी ये है कि जब गवर्नमेंट जॉब है, सिक्योरिटी है. गवर्नमेंट जॉब सिक्योरिटी है. यू कैन बी फायर्ड एनी मोमेंट. लोग कहते हैं वहाँ बहुत सिक्योरिटी है, प्राइवेट सिक्योरिटी नहीं है कोई भी. इट्स अ मैटर ऑफ how you are behaving, are you delivering, are you contributing. No one is crazy. You are contributing, doing good work. You are a model worker, and yet they say to hell with you, we don't need you. Nowhere in the world. It's not just Islam. You can go anywhere in the world, and if you are doing your job with responsibility, with care, with excellence, no one would like to fire you. That's the guarantee, not what you get in the contract paper. All contracts make no difference. So it's not a matter of pressure on the person or any kind of surety by way of putting a meher on a person. Now, the aspect which has been again and again repeated is Ashruhunna bil ma'ruf. Live with your wives gracefully. And this graceful living is symbolized by the prophetic behavior himself. And so he says that among believers, best is one who is best in morality, khulq, and better is one who is best in conduct with his wife. In another hadith, it is added, I am best with my wives. It's not here, but there are many hadiths of that carry that meaning. So he presented himself a model, how to be kind, polite, loving. And if we claim that we love the Prophet and act contrary, then our claim is meaningless. So the ethical conduct or family ethics is ingrained, is fully reflected in every single place in the Quran where it talks about this concept of marriage. Then the Quran also tells us that marriage has a very noble objective, and that is to seek salih progeny, pious children who act rationally, who act ethically, who act morally. This word salih is used in the Quran in many occasions, and it tells us that the amal salih, salih awlad, and so on and so forth, all those things are to be properly observed in order to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it educates us in not only just having children, but praying all the time that they should be pious and ethical in behavior. Then these few words of the Quranic ayah again provide us a very, very deep understanding of ethics of family. The words are very simple. They are your garments and you are there. Why we go to a brand and buy a shalwar kameez by paying 15,000 to 45,000? Why? Because you think if you are using a brand dress, then people will appreciate, you will look beautiful. Then if you marry and you don't respect your dress, is that logical? Why we use dress? Because it not only gives us dignity, it protects us from heat and cold. Does family provide always that protection from heat and cold? Islam wants it to provide. We never try, because we never try to understand the Quran. We read its literal meaning, that the Quran said they are dress, okay dress. But would I like to have a very costly dress, a shalwar kameez, a suit, by paying 50,000 rupees, and then I walk by dragging it on the floor, by going into bush and letting it be torn? Or I'll be very careful. And here it says both, not just one. Husband is your dress, you are his dress. And dress also covers up if I have a spot on my chest, on my arm, and I have dress, no one knows that spot. So if a wife, whenever she meets her friends, says, look, these men are just intolerable. They never take care. Even on my birthday, on wedding anniversary, there was no celebration. And then the other one starts her story. And third one starts story. Is it covering dress or uncovering? You see, it's one statement, single statement. But if you only think on it, if you don't think, it's perfectly okay. Makes no difference. And that's why the Quran is with us for 15 centuries. How many times we try to understand it? How many times? Every single statement has volumes, lots of meaning. The more you think, the more you discover its dimensions and beauty. So the statement is very simple, no philosophical words, no abstractions. Libas is not a philosophical term, but tells you the whole philosophy of marriage, that you have to, I think nothing is more intimate than my dress to me. Between my body and dress, there is nothing. So, do we have that intimacy in family, in every family? But because we don't understand the Quran. Never try to understand it. Leave it there on the shelf, wrapped in velvet and locked. So, never opened. Except when your daughter gets married, you bring it out, raise it and say, just pass by it, even don't touch the Quran. But just without touching, go and you will be blessed. It's a magic that works. Anyhow, so its ethics of intimate relationship is given in this Quranic ayah for us. Then I referred to this a while ago. وَآتُوا النِّسَاءَ صَدَقَاتِهِنَّ نِهْلًا, and then the ayah says very clearly, give women their bridal due with sincerity, with truthfulness, not to show off, not to later on be sarcastic about it or use it as a pressure or favor, but it's a sincere gift which cannot be just withdrawn. So these two ayat provide you an evidence from the Quran in how we should deal with the problem of meher. Then the issue of amount someone raised earlier. We find that Sayyida Aisha reports that Ummatul Mu'mineen had around 500 dirham as their meher. But we find in the same hadith book that Najashi, when he on behalf of the Prophet married Habiba to the Prophet, peace be upon him, then nikah, a meher of 4,000 dirham was announced, which means that there is a variety and there is no fixed amount of meher. We also find the Quran telling us, if you have given them a heap of gold, a qintar, then don't take back in case of divorce. Therefore, there is no limit, and further we find that once Hazrat Umar thought that it's better to make uniform meher for all marriages, so people don't show off or people are not observing different standards. So he, in a public address, he announced that I think we should have what was given by the Prophet as meher for Ummahatul Mu'mineen, which was this 500 dirham. That should be the amount. And at that point, a lady questioned and said, Umar, who allowed you to limit it when Allah says, if you have given a qintar? Now that shows you not only so-called freedom of expression, but so-called depth of knowledge of women. You have been told for centuries that your husband will teach you Islam, your Maulana will teach you Islam. But these ladies were themselves knowledgeable to the extent that they are questioning the faqih of age. Umar is like we regard Imam Abu Hanifa and Shafi'i faqih of age, Umar is no less than any one of them. So a person with that much knowledge of Islam is publicly challenged. Now suppose in your first semester, your student challenges your knowledge of biochemistry, how would you feel? Happy? Angry? Frustrated? Would you ever forgive that student all your life? Just put in the shoes of Umar. And Umar says, this lady knows more than Umar, and she is right. That is the beauty of character. And that's why he was great. So anyhow, so the point here is that amount of mehr is not something fixed. It can vary and fluctuate with the means available. So here you find the word qintar, which I mentioned. But if you decide to take one wife in place of another, even if you had given the latter a whole treasure, a whole heap, take not the least bit of it. So with this use of this word qintar gave that Sahabiya the basis and courage to stand up and challenge Umar and say, Umar, you are wrong. If Allah says qintar, who are you to make it less? Don't use your authority if your Khalifa makes no difference. Now, the Prophet preferred lower limit but made it a condition for nikah. It's about Prophet, whoever married a woman with intention not to pay mehr, he is adulterer. You see, the words are very, very strong. And if you really understand the meaning of this statement, then go back and ask your parents and grandparents. How many people in our own community 100 years back, when marriage is performed, say we are giving a bunch of gold seals known as Ashrafi, gold seals, 10,000 Ashrafi, while they never gave even one Ashrafi. The idea was to show people how rich I am and I am giving all that. So Hadith says if you have that kind of intention, then it is adultery. It is not nikah at all. And who borrows with intention not to pay is a thief, a sariq. So this is a hadith which I referred earlier, that if you have nothing but to give part of the Quran in marriage, qualifies for mehr because condition is met. Then we talked earlier about wud and rahma, and compassion and mercy, and the Quran elsewhere tells us that you have to have attitude of adl but not equality. Unfortunately, we, because of our enslaved minds, love to repeat Western slogans. And one slogan is that women should have equality with men. For example, on 23rd March, JF-17 should be flown only by women, not by men. That will give them muscle, reputation. We can say with pride, look, our girls, they fly JF-17. But you never know, when you fly JF-17, what kind of physiological, psychological state you need. And how many girls, with all humbleness on my part, can have that. They can have much more patience than any male. They can have many things where they excel over men. But in some areas, men still remain different. A good part of my family belongs to army and other areas, Navy and Air Force, and I know from my personal experience that when you want to fly a JF-17 or F-16, then before Fajr, before you take breakfast, you go take a flight and go to the extent of nearly breaking sound barrier. At that point, a person who is athlete, very strongly bodied, can start bleeding from nose and mouth because of the pressure, although cockpit is fully pressurized. Can everyone take that tension? We say no. Unless we have 50% girls doing all that, they are not girls. They are dummies. It's illogical, irrational, unnatural. But since you have been hearing it from your childhood, equality, 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 therefore you start believing in that. Islam says adl, which means that if you want to provide a girl more than a boy, you have liberty, depending on the need and capacity. So, the ayah says very clearly that you have to be adil, do adil with them, and your behavior should be rationalized, logical. And then it also tells us in the same surah, with all your possible effort, it's not possible you treat them equally. It's not possible humanly. Just put yourself in the shoes of a person who is living a very good family life, but for some reason he finds that his wife does not understand anything logically, but he wants to marry a lady who is very educated, very intelligent, very good literary taste, and so on and so forth. Why he wants to marry her? Just because of her physical beauty or because of that intellectual capacity? And if you want to be honest and fair, would you treat exactly equally an intelligent, well-mannered person as compared to a non-intelligent person? Therefore, the Quran is not saying physical and biological aspects. It's telling us that it is not easy for you. Therefore, in such situations, do not bend towards one, but be as fair as possible. You see, this is down-to-earth approach. It's not idealism. It's not unfairness, but it's fairness. In your own family, if one of your children is always responsive, and the moment you say Ahmad and he runs, and then you say Zainab and she never comes, do you stop giving them food? No. Giving the rest? No. You do everything for them. But do you have same feeling? Is it crime? It's natural. That's what the Quran talks. Does not mean discrimination. So the wordings are very clear. You may not, but do not tilt toward one. You have to be fair with all that human finitude, which cannot be avoided. Those who claim that no, we are like robots, computerized, same program. No, you don't have same program for everyone, and it's not possible. Why are you silent, by the way? Why don't you disagree with me? Huh?
क्या ये वैसे ये कॉमन प्रॉब्लम फेस होता है, उस पर बात करना भी पड़ती है कि आप टिल्ट होते आप इस तरह होते हैं, ये क्या साइकोलॉजिकली मतलब अपने आप को ट्यून कर सकता है इस चीज़ पे कि बीइंग एल्डर बीइंग पेरेंट हमें ऐसा नहीं करना चाहिए या हमें बैलेंस रखने पे कादिर होना चाहिए, क्या वाकई हम इस पे कादिर हैं या नहीं?
देखिए, होता ये है कि देयर आर KPIs of everything. If you have 2 or 3 or 4 children and they are all of different temperament, but if any 2 of them get sick, do you ever think I take this one to specialist and that to just a practitioner? Never. Therefore, what the ayah is telling you is very simple, that although you may like one more, but don't get tilted. But it's natural. If one is more observant, one is more responsive, you are bound to. In your class, if you find a student who is more intelligent, always responding, comes to class after reading text which you are going to teach and raise questions, does that mean that you always put this person as A? Maybe in one course the same student gets A from you, in one gets B. Although very intelligent, very responsive. Are you unfair, unjust? No. So same applies in family relation, but the point here is that there should not be discrimination, there should not be a blind approach, not just emotional approach but rational approach. The Quran insists continuously on rational approach. Adl means reason. Adl does not mean emotions. Any questions from your side? कोई चीज़ जो आप जी
निकाह के लिए कुछ शराइत हैं जिनमें से एक ये भी है कि वली जो है ज़रूरी है निकाह के लिए। तो हमारे यहाँ एक जहाँ पेरेंट्स डिसएग्री होते हैं वहाँ बच्चे जाके जैसे कोर्ट में मैरिज कर लेते हैं, क्या वो वैलिड निकाह होता है?
हमारे यहाँ जो स्कूल ऑफ थॉट पाए जाते हैं उनके अंदर 5 स्कूल्स ऑफ थॉट में से सिर्फ एक स्कूल ऑफ थॉट ये समझता है कि वली का होना ज़रूरी नहीं है। बाकी 4 स्कूल ऑफ थॉट बशमूल जाफरी स्कूल ऑफ थॉट ये समझते हैं कि वली का होना ज़रूरी है, क्योंकि कुरान पाक ने एक मकाम पे ये कहा है, पीछे हम जा चुके हैं उस पर, कि तुम ये कर दो, दैट मीन्स वली इज़ टू डू इट। इस बिना पर वली का होना, लेकिन इस पर सबका इत्तेफाक है कि फॉर ए कपल हु वर नॉट मैरिड बिफोर वली इज़ नेसेसरी, but for someone who has been married and divorced, then for such person wali is not necessary. Then the person himself can decide and get married. It's not condition, not required. But you see why wali? Wali is needed because the jurists are of the view that you need wali because there should be a person who should dispassionately look into the relationship. When we say dispassionate, it means that if you are living in America or France or Germany or anywhere else and you are approaching adulthood and you like a person and even you go out and sometimes eat food with the person or sit and talk and think this is the kind of person and make up your mind. All this period is that of playing a role. a role of Mr. Nice and Miss Nice. But once marriage is done, then you start discovering the real face of the person. Emotionally, this period of so-called dating or knowing each other, socializing, is a period of highly emotional disturbance in which you cannot use your rational mind. So you need a third person who can see both. Are they really going to work or not? Even then, it may not work or work. But history tells us that normally, if elderly person are sincerely trying their best, then it does work. With some ups and downs, it's not a total failure. But there are great failures, a large number, based on the so-called emotional relationship. That's why you find, I'm very shocked to find out the recent trends in our own country that marriages don't survive for too long presently. And the reason essentially is that in colleges, universities, even families, they think that you're just sharing some jokes and smiling in face of each other is enough to gauge a person and think that this will be a good relationship. That's not enough at all. You always require elderly wisdom. So the reason for wali is essentially that, where you have moral pressure, ethical pressure, experience counts. Why you go to so many goldsmiths for getting a ring, and they just look on your ring or diamond and tell you, is it right or wrong? Why don't I decide myself? Because it's experience. After experience, they can tell you. So elderly persons are supposed to have that experience, and they should use that experience fairly and honestly, not to impose on their children what they want, but with full honesty and fairness, and then leave it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, then the Quran tells us that men, in what sense, have one level superiority. And one level superiority is mentioned here, that they are responsible for their financial and physical security. At 2 a.m. someone knocks at the door. Would you like your daughter to go and open the door? Anywhere in the world. So there's some superiority. Accept it. Don't feel shy about it. Don't say it's less than empowerment of women. No, very simple. So, and if a wife is very rich, does not make difference. Still, her husband has legal requirement to take care of her needs. Why you married? Knowing that she is rich. Don't marry. But if you marry, you must fulfill your obligation. So the Quran is very clear, without any apologies, very fair, very friendly to both genders, without discrimination. And therefore they are called protectors and maintainers of women. On the lighter note, you may find one of your daughters who goes regularly to a gym and is very fit and even can fight with you, although you are her father. But when in her room she finds a lizard, then who is called to help? These are ground realities. Or a cockroach, not lizard. Globally, it's not a matter of Pakistan because we are very weak women, we are very shy. No. It's human nature. Don't deny that. Accept it and enjoy it. Be happy on that. Why should we feel inferior because of that? Why? It's human nature and that's all. Should everyone be intelligent? Everyone should be a philosopher? No, human nature. Therefore, all these slogans are meaningless. Empowerment, equality, just to fool people and exploit them for their own agendas.
सर हमारे यहाँ फीमेल्स मोस्टली दुखी रहती हैं कि मर्दों को अल्लाह ताला ने ज़्यादा एक दर्जा दे दिया है. उसकी रीज़न ये है कि हम दीन के नॉलेज से बहुत दूर होते हैं. इसमें भी देखा है तो अल्लाह ताला कह रहे हैं अर्रिजालु कव्वामून, और खुद अल्लाह ताला आगे कह रहे हैं कि वबिमा अनफक़ू, यानी इस वजह से वो तुम्हारे पर माल खर्च करते हैं अपना. और अगर एक औरत को कहा जाए कि तुम कमा के ला रही हो, एक हफ्ता ज़रा खर्च करो और माल ना खर्च करे, तो फिर हम देखेंगे क्या हाल होता है. इवन कभी खर्च करते हैं तो अपने हस्बैंड से वापस निकलवाते हैं, वो मैंने खर्च किया. इसलिए हम समझ नहीं रहे होते, लेकिन अल्लाह ताला ने बहुत और उनके साथ हम सब लिबरलिज्म या उसकी या दीन से जहालत की वजह से फिर हम अल्लाह से दुखी और शिकवे करते रहते हैं खिलाने वाले.
जी, आपकी बात बिल्कुल सही है कि ये एक नफ्सियाती मसला है. और नफ्सियाती मसला इसलिए है कि हम जिस माशरे में पैदा हुए हैं उस माशरे में पहले दिन से आपने ये मुशाहिदा किया है कि ख़ानदानों के अंदर आम तौर पर लड़कों को ज़्यादा तवज्जो दी जाती है, प्रेफरेंस दी जाती है लड़कियों के मुकाबले में. इसका मुशाहिदा आप लोग कर सकते हैं खाने की मेज़ के ऊपर. आप मुशाहिदा कर सकते हैं स्कूल के लंच बॉक्स के अंदर. अगर आपने अपने एक बेटे और बेटी को जिनका फ़र्क उम्र का 1 साल या 2 साल का है और वो एक स्कूल में पढ़ते हैं, लंच बॉक्स दी हैं अलग अलग, तो जब वो वापस आते हैं तो शिकायत क्या मिलती है आपको कि वो बहन का हिस्सा खा गया. दिस इज़ नॉर्मल बिकॉज वी आर ह्यूमन बींग्स. क्यों? क्योंकि आपने शुरू से उसको ये इनकरेज किया. बिकॉज ऑफ द सोशल कंडीशंस we have developed these concepts. Now we want to react to it and say, okay, we were discriminated, now we must take rod in our hand and teach these men a lesson. Now, इस्लाम चाहता है इससे बुलंद होकर सोचें आप. ना आप सोचें कि आप मर्द हैं, ना आप सोचें कि औरत हैं, बल्कि आप अल्लाह के बंदे और बंदी हैं. And as slaves of Allah, what is appropriate, fair? जो बात आपने फरमाई मैं उससे पूरा इत्तेफाक करता हूँ, लेकिन अगर एक वाइफ काम कर रही है, और बिलाशुबा बहुत सी वाइफ ऐसी होंगी जो ये चाहेंगी कि जो कुछ उन्होंने अर्न किया है उसका बड़ा हिस्सा उनके लिबास पे ख़र्च हो, उनके परफ्यूम पे ख़र्च हो, उनके अपने कामों पे सर्फ हो. गो मालूम होता है कि 2 सैलरीज आ रही हैं. 2 सैलरीज मीन इट्स मल्टीप्लाइड ट्वाइस एंड वी मस्ट बी मोर सेटिस्फाइड एंड मोर ईजी टू लिव. ऐसा होता नहीं है कभी भी सारी उम्र. लेकिन अच्छा, ये इसके साथ अगर ये समझ लिया जाए कि चूँकि ये हो रहा है इस बिना पर और शादी के बाद शौहर जो है वो क़व्वाम है, तो वो सारा जो कुछ बेचारी ने अर्न किया है सब वो कब्ज़ा करके बैठ जाए बिकॉज क़व्वाम है. इज़ दैट फेयर? अच्छा, मुझे दुख से कहना पड़ता है कि हमारे बाज़ फ़ुक़हा, एक साहब तो मेरे ज़ाती दोस्त भी थे, बड़े मशहूर फ़क़ीह थे, अपनी किताब में ये लिखा उन्होंने कि अगर एक ख़ातून कहीं काम भी करती है और वो सैलरी लाती है तो चाहे वो लाती हो ना लाती हो, ये हक़ उसके शौहरी का है क्योंकि वो शौहर है. मुझे नहीं पता कहाँ से वो नुक्ता निकाल कर लाए, बट इट्स प्रिंटेड बुक ऑन फ़िक़्ह. Anyhow, I don't agree with that at all. I believe that Quran tells us whatever iktisab you do belongs to you. And therefore the wife has every right to use whatever she earns the way she wants. And that's why the Prophet once said, when a lady came and said, I want to do some sadaqah, then he said, why didn't you give it to your husband? He is very, very poor. अगर आप कभी घर में ये कह दें, शौहर हो या बीवी हो, कोई भी हो, कि मैं सदका दे रहा हूँ, क्या हाल होगा घर के अंदर आपके? क़यामत आ जाएगी ना। इसलिए कि हमने कभी ना पढ़ा कुरान ना हदीस पढ़ी। आतू सदक़ात हिन्ना जो कहा कुरान पाक ने, क्यों कहा? सिद्क़ दिल के साथ। सदक़ा का मतलब है सिद्क़ दिल के साथ कोई चीज़ ना सदक़ा है। वो नहीं है जो आप लोग समझते हैं कि काला बकरा हो, काला दुम्बा हो, काली मुर्गी हो। नहीं, वो सदक़ा नहीं है। बल्कि सदक़ा का मतलब ये है कि सिद्क़ दिल के साथ, सिंसियरली। So if a wife contributes sincerely, then maleness is not challenged. Or if a husband with all compassion and kindness spends on wife, then it's not that it's female exploitation by a male. See, all these terms have been imposed on us by the colonialists, and now they stick in our memory, deep in our memory. We think with those terms, and that is to be taken very seriously. I always say we have to get rid of this empiricist, imperialist paradigm of knowledge. Empiricist because of imperialism. We still talk in English, don't talk in Urdu. It's imperial language, king's language. Even when I was a child, I read King's Grammar was the book, titled King's Grammar. But I had to read it. School demanded that. So it's our mindset that must change. बहुत शुक्रिया आप सबका.